Welcome to Broadway Corner with Ashley Ha, where you can hear your favorite performers talk about how they got started, their careers, and everything in between. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Spotify at Broadway Corner with Ashley Ha, and on my main Broadway account at Broadway_corner on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy. Hi everyone, welcome back to Broadway Corner with Ashley Ha. I'm Ashley Ha. I'm so happy to have you here, and we are back with Maybe Happy Ending. After taking a short little hiatus, maybe like 2 episodes, we're back. You know I had to. And the first one since they won 6 Tony Awards, including one for Best Musical. So really exciting. And we were talking to someone who has been a founding father, in and out was Oliver's father. It's Marcus Choi. Hi, Marcus. How are you?
I'm good, Ashley.
I hope you like that. I came up with it last night and I was like, I think he's gonna like this.
I like it. I like being the founding father of another show. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. No, and as someone who has seen you both in Hamilton and in Maybe Happy Ending, there's so much there to talk about. You're such a veteran performer of the stage, have been in so many things, and so I'll list them for you right now. Uh,
Okay.
so Marcus is returning to Broadway as James slash Toonsaw in Maybe Happy Ending. He most recently played the role of George Washington in Hamilton on the Philip tour. His Broadway credits include the original companies of Wicked, Flower Drum Song, Allegiance, and The Times They Are Changin'. He also appeared in the revivals of Miss Saigon and Sweet Charity, starring Christina Applegate. So yeah, hi Marcus. How's your day going so far?
This Marcus guy, I'd love to meet him.
Well, good thing. I think we might be talking to him right now. Just maybe, just maybe. Uh, well, it's for me at least, it's kind of a sunny, nice day. I hope it's the same in New York, but just so thrilled to have you
Yeah, I think
here.
so. Yeah, weather's kind of shaping up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been kind of rainy the past couple of days, but hopefully today's better.
In Boston, we understand because it's like the whole week is super sunny, and then the weekends come, and it's like, why is it raining? I wanted to
Yeah.
enjoy the weekend and relax, but I can't. But anyway, we're so excited to be talking about Maybe Happy Ending. There's just so much amazing representation in the show. It's my current favorite show on Broadway. I have Minnie Boone, I have all the playbills, I have my posters in the back.
Yeah.
Um,
Represent.
I'm a true fan. So,
I love it.
but so the Tonys just happened about a little over a week ago, and this is
Yeah.
kind of a insane night for the Asians. Uh, just kind of like everything that I've been hoping for the past couple of years kind of came true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for you to be at the Tonys, you also performed with the show. You were in Radio City when the show won Best Musical. So what was going through your heart, your mind, just like when it was announced and when you and Des got to run on stage?
So, uh, actually, after our performance, it was kind of a wild night for us because after our performance, we had to go back and get out of our costumes. But luckily, Radio City's on 49 and made our theaters on 44. So it was a quick little walk back to the theater. We got undressed and I got back into our tuxes. And Darren's publicist told us to come back to Radio City. So we were just going to go and hang out, and like if by chance we won, then we would be able to be there for everybody else. So we got back to Radio City, and this is real talk. We almost couldn't get in
Oh my God.
because yeah, during the Tonys, security blocks off all the streets, right? So 49, 50, they were both blocked off, and we get to the corner, and there was there was a police officer. She was just doing her job, and we didn't have our credentials or anything like that. Uh, we looked the part because we were in our tuxedos, but she was like, I can't let you guys in. Do you have a point person that can come out here and walk you in, or is there anybody that be able to confirm that you are, part of the Tonys? And we're like, our show is nominated. They're almost going to announce who the winners. Please let us in. And she was just like, I can't. So thank God there's this guy. I think he worked for Radio City. He had an orange vest on, so it was very official. He comes over. He was like, "Don't worry, I'll walk him in." And she was like, "Okay." So thank you. Shout out to that guy. I don't know who he is, but he walked us in. We go to the stage door and we kind of work our way through backstage, and then we're just kind of like hanging out in the press room. And we were able to see Darren get nominated, which was so special. God, his speech was so great, and it was just like such an amazing moment to be able to kind of share that not only with Des, but like so many other people who were in the press that were fans of Darren's, fans of the show. We were all just celebrating, and it was an incredible moment. And so when it got to the best musical category, we go upstairs and and we're just kind of waiting around, and we still didn't know that we were going to win,
Hmm.
but if by chance we did, then we would be we would be prepared to join everybody, and nobody knew that we were going to be there. You know what I mean? Because we had to essentially just kind of sneak back in.
Yeah.
But it worked out perfect, and when we won, it was just a surreal moment to just not only just to share that space with our producers and our cast and our creative team, but just like to be able to like stand on stage and just see the amount of people that were in Radio City that night. I think it's something like 4,000 or 4,500 seats or something like that. It's massive.
So many
Radio City is
balconies.
cavernous. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was a dream come true. It was a one of the best nights of my life. It was incredible.
No, I loved how many people were on stage.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
to rush the stage, all the producers, just everyone to,
Yeah.
help
And
make
then
this show what it is.
yeah, absolutely. And then to have Lynn announce us, that was like extra special for me.
Yes,
Yeah.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, the king of
Yeah.
Broadway.
Yeah.
So, that was just I was watching the entire show because I usually don't watch the whole Tonys, but this year
Yeah.
was like for maybe Happy Ending. I watched everything, even Darren's pre-show like stuff.
Yeah.
Like I have
Yeah.
to be, aware of what's going on, and I was
Yeah.
just so thrilled for all of you. So,
It was
congratulations.
also, thank you so much. It was also like a historically amazing season. I
Hmm.
just feel like so many of the shows that have been produced with plays and musicals this season is just like groundbreaking work. Representation was an all-time high across the board. I think there was something like 43 shows that were part of the season.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible, and just
Yeah.
to be a part of this iconic season was life-changing, and to win Best Musical was just the enormous cherry on top.
Yeah, no, I've always heard like people say the Tonys is kind of just about celebration, where maybe other award shows is about more competition and who's gonna win. But for the Tonys, it's like, oh, we're all just here to celebrate our work and really enjoy it with our whole community. And so I think
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
really beautiful part of the Tonys and
yeah.
definitely what, all these shows are all about. So that's amazing. But to
And
go,
like also,
oh, sorry.
sorry, sorry. I was just gonna say like also like the amazing thing about the Tonys is that everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of the shows that are running that are nominated for things that had a performance at the Tonys, or the actors who are all sitting there waiting to see if they won, we had all just done a matinee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we all just did the thing, and not only that, we came to Radio City that morning before our shows to do another on-camera rehearsal. So it's an epic day. It's a marathon day, and for all of us to kind of like share that together, it's just like you can just tell everyone's exhausted, but we're all just like, we got this. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just running on the adrenaline and hopefully
Yeah,
that'll carry you through. Um,
for sure.
but I know your history with Maybe Happy Ending spans a really long time. There's like when I was doing my Maybe Happy Ending deep dive on YouTube, watching all the stuff from the Korean production, watching all the past things from the Alliance production, like everything, I found videos of you and Josh De La Cruz singing Where You Belong. And,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, Marcus has been in this like are attached to it in some way for a long time. So can you talk about kind of your first inkling of when you heard this was going to be a project, like what your first impression was and how you got involved?
Sure. So back in 2016, that's when they first came to Broadway to or New York to start the workshop process. They had, they had their Korean run and won all the awards, and they had a very successful production. So for them to, come to New York, it was just kind of like the next step in evolution for the show. And I had just finished doing Allegiance,
Hmm.
and my agents just they just gave me a call, or they asked me if I wanted to audition for this. This was one of the first auditions that I had after Allegiance had closed. And it was just one of those things where as soon as I read the script, I knew that it was a special piece. It was a charming piece. And then the fact that it was written by, a Korean and American team, it was so unique, and it was such a novel mm, idea and a novel piece that I just like absolutely fell in love with it. From the first day of rehearsal on that very first day of the workshop, listening to the music, and of course when like the orchestra, because in the workshop process on the presentation day we usually have some musicians. So I think there was like maybe like two violins, a cello, and maybe like a pianist or something like that. But even at that kind of bare bones version of the show, it was beautiful. Will Aronson and Hugh Park, they're a dynamic duo, and they just created something so special and so intimate, and it feels like, this like beautiful little precious thing that they've created, that even when you're reading it around the table in a black box studio, it just you feel how much love was infused into this piece. And so yeah, from very early on, I knew that it was a special piece.
And then coming back to Broadway, what was that process like? Did you audition again? Like, how did you, because you were
I
not a part of the Alliance production, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So in 20, so I did the first three rounds of workshops back in 16, and then I ended up getting Miss Saigon, and then left to go on tour with Hamilton at the
Right.
beginning of 18. So I wasn't able to continue with the show and the workshop process with them. But I believe Michael Arden came on board around 2019, and then they went to the Alliance in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still on tour. Cut to 2024 after pandemic had ended, and they opened everything back up again. They did, I want to say, like another two workshops. Um, and so when I got off a tour in February of 24, like in April, I get another phone call saying, "Hey, remember that little show, maybe Happy Ending? Well, they're making it to Broadway." So I put myself on tape. Um, I submit it. I forget it, just because,
Yeah, we
as you
have
do,
to.
you just move on, right?
Yeah.
And I found out in June that I got it. I didn't have to do a callback or anything, and I was already moving back to New York in July. So, blessing of all blessings, I come back to New York with a job, and we start rehearsals in September,
Hmm.
and the rest is history.
Yeah, now we're
Yeah,
here.
it's been incredible. Like, actually, I don't know if you've ever been a part of a production that is just kind of like just riddled with like, ego and trauma, and it's just like stumbling blocks and challenges every step of the way, and tempers start to flare, and this was not that. This has been the from day one, this has been the most amazing experience, and
Mm-hmm.
I attribute it to the incredible stage team, our stage management team, our directing team, our music team, and our cast is just a group of people that were so in love with this piece that it almost felt like John Yoon, our MD. he said this during rehearsals. He was like, I feel invincible because
Mm,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody, once the show is out,
yeah.
it doesn't matter what anybody thinks because what we have created in the studio and in the room was so precious and amazing to us that it didn't matter what
Yeah.
anybody else thought. Luckily, everybody loved it
Yeah.
and it's been doing well. So like we feel validated in being the first people to know that like we have something special here, you
Hmm.
know. And now we get to share that secret with everybody.
Yeah. No, at the beginning of like the run, I was like, I need to tell everyone about this. And I have a friend, Shin, who he's from Korea and he saw it in Korea and then
Hmm.
came to New York or and yeah, visited New York, after going to school in Boston and he saw the Broadway production and for him to have been there from like day one too, like he had so
Yeah,
much faith in this show and I feel like everyone who discovers it or really sees it feels the same way. And so it's like
yeah,
when you just want to yell it, to every single person, be like, go see this special thing. It's like I can't
yeah, yeah,
exactly explain it in a sentence, maybe. And it's something that you have to see to really know and believe and love. So, uh,
yeah,
yeah, this show is just the most special. And, 6 Tony Awards later, I think we're doing okay.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one of the greatest things about this whole experience is just having so many people not just love the show, but come back multiple times. You
Hmm.
know, like that's the greatest thing that any show can ask for is just a
Yeah.
repeat audience because people just enjoy it so much, you know. And I have a lot of friends who are Tony voters, and they, they love the show so much that they're like, because Tony voters all get free tickets to come see the show. They have
Yeah.
to, right?
Yeah.
So many of my friends that are voters are like, I spent my own money to come to your show over and over again because every time somebody comes into town or their family's here or something, they're like, I need to take you to the show
Yes.
because it hits on so many levels. You know what I mean? People can relate on so many levels with the show. It's just all about love and relationship and the redemption of caring for each other and it's those are universal things that
Yeah.
everybody can relate to, you know.
Yeah, no, it's such a beautiful story, and I mean, I will never stop listening to the cast recording. And speaking of, what is your favorite song in the show?
Um, oh geez. I would say, I mean, from day one, very, very early on, probably my favorite song in the show was Claire's "What I Learned from People,"
Mm-hmm.
um, and I feel like that song alone it stands by itself with such like this like amazing dramatic uh, narrative that like taken out of context still so riveting, and Helen just does such an amazing job of
Yes.
just knocking that song out of the park every night. But like when we first started rehearsals, that the voice that I kept hearing was Ashley Park
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
Ashley was doing it in those workshops, and it's just like both of them are just so great, and so like I just fell in love with that song. But I would say like another song that I absolutely love is just it's all the Gil stuff, like Before I
Yes.
Can Let You Go
Yeah.
and Sentimental Person, like they're just these beautiful timeless pieces that they were bespoke songs that they wrote for Des, and he just, I mean, it's just. I mean, you ask anybody at the theater, I'm constantly singing along with the show backstage.
Yeah,
Constantly.
yes. I would be too, trust me. But with James, since you're not singing as much necessarily in this show, like we've seen
Yeah.
Hamilton do, where you're George Washington and doing all those big songs, but you have a lot more like character stuff with James and
Hmm.
with the whole track, and there's a lot
Hmm.
of costume changes. So my
Yeah.
question is, what is your quickest, like, what is the fastest quick change that you have? Or are they a little more spread out, or is it just kind of bam, 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 we gotta go?
Well, the quickest one that I have is 15 seconds, and
Oh,
that's from yeah, it's from the hotel clerk into bathrobe guy.
yes.
Yeah. And I have a whole team of people. It's like choreography. As soon as I exit, like when I'm starting one thing, the dresser finishes it and I have to start the next thing. So it's just like it's pretty incredible. And we have it down now. So it's there's no stress, but like figuring that out was a lot of fun. But as far as my changes go, and other than that, they're all pretty. I have plenty of time.
Yeah.
It's nice because once I start the show and I do Where You Belong, I have another break before the hotel scene. And once we start the hotel scene, it's just like scene after scene after scene after scene. So the show just flies by for me right there.
Yeah.
And then uh, after they come back from Jeju, then like I have another break. So it's nice to kind of have like these three different sections of the show where I can just kind of
Mhm.
like relax into it and then do the busy work and then kind of relax into the end. So that was really nice. But honestly, like I say that, God, I sound like a broken record, but I say this to everybody. The show to me feels like a gift
Mm.
because not only is it a one act and like the reception that we've received has been incredible and such a blessing, but it's kind on my soul, kind on my body, kind on my voice. I get to make people laugh. I get to make people cry. And coming from Hamilton, doing 22 songs, like Washington sings 22
Oh,
songs,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a heavy lift, um, and then coming to this show where I'm essentially just doing a play with music for
Hmm.
me, you know. Um, it's been the greatest gift, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
No, the score, it's more in a comfortable position for the singers. Like even for Claire,
Yeah, yeah,
like as someone who, would want to play Claire one day, it's like, oh, I this isn't such a stretch. It's not like, oh, I'm belting to the gods every single
yeah,
day. It's like, no, we're
yeah,
in a very cozy position. You can sustain this 8 times a week and be
yeah,
totally fine, which I think is we need a little more of this on Broadway. Um,
yeah, yeah,
the crazy vocals, I'm like, I don't know if I can take it anymore.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, it's the nice thing is that nobody's doing, this like extravagant vocal gymnastics, but it just goes back to the fact that the story in our show is the star.
yeah.
We are all there to service the story. The set, the acting, the costumes, the music, everything is in service to tell this story. That's why it's so great that there's no like 11 o'clock number. There's no song that just like tears you apart. And there is a place for that. And and I know that like I enjoy seeing that historically people enjoy that. There's a reason why Nicole Scherzinger is getting two standing ovations during her show because she's just like crushing songs.
Yeah.
Um, but the sustainability of that is challenging,
Yeah.
and so that's another thing about a show that we're so grateful of is the fact that like nobody is just killing themselves to do the show. The hardest part for for Darren, and this is him, saying this to everyone, admittedly so, is like because he's a robot, he can't cry. Like that's where we're at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that is it's what's one of the great things about the show is that all we got to do is just say the words and tell the story and yeah, it's a great gift. Like I said, it's a great gift.
Yeah, no, and when, as an actor too, like in studying, how to sing a song, like acting through song and all this stuff, it's like you take away all the riffs and all the things, and there still needs to be something there. And so I
Sure.
think the
Yeah.
show is the perfect example of letting the story move the songs instead of
Yeah.
the songs and the vocals moving the story. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think it's just, you could take away everything and just have a pure story. which I think is the best thing possible for actors. Um, and one of my last questions is, you did Flower Drum Song more than 20 years ago with Daniel May, who we've also had on the podcast. And I talked to Daniel, and he even mentioned that you two were roommates at one point,
Hmm.
very close friends.
Yeah.
So my questions are, is Daniel a good roommate? And what is it like to be back on Broadway together?
Daniel's a great roommate. He's very clean, and it was like living with my brother, so we just shared everything, and every time we cooked, we would just cook for two, and he's truly like my brother. We have been through so much together,
Hmm.
and just being able to tell his story and be a part of it for the last 20 plus years, it's been amazing to have this full circle moment with him, because you only get one Broadway debut,
Yeah.
and we are still very, very close to that Flower Drum Song cast.
Hmm.
We're like a family. We're all still so close. We have a text thread, and anytime any of us are, have a reason to celebrate, we are all the first ones to be there to congratulate and just to be there to support.
Hmm.
And so, for Daniel and I to have this moment and to be able to share that with our Flower Drum cast has been incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. No, people say like the Broadway community is small, but the Asian Broadway community is even
Yeah.
smaller. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's just you see these faces over and over again, and it's just we all kind of know like what we've gone through, I guess, in the theater
Mhm.
to get to where we have to be. And so to see a whole cast of newcomers and Broadway veterans alike in a show and getting to experience that and do an original Broadway show, I think is the most special thing. So I'm just
Yeah.
thank you guys all for just representing for all the young Asian Americans and people who need to see this right now.
Yeah, yeah. It also kind of goes back to the fact that this is such an incredible season because there were so many Asian Americans that were featured and celebrated in all across Broadway.
Mhm.
With Conrad and Francis and Daniel and David Henry Hwang, of course, and Nicole and our cast and all the other Asians that were nominated in different shows as ensemble dancers and producers and choreographers and writers. It was an incredible season, for visibility and for the Asian American community to just kind of like stamp our our relevance and presence on Broadway. And so we're all so incredibly thankful just to be part of this community. And I think for me, when I was growing up, the only show that I had to kind of see myself as owning a place in this business was Miss Saigon,
Mhm.
and that was the representation that I saw, and uh, that I felt like I had some type of ownership over my future because I saw myself on stage through them. And I think that's another reason why I stayed with Hamilton for so long, because it's so important where this new generation of actors, the Asian American actors, that they have the license and the freedom to to claim their place
Mhm.
in these shows like Hamilton.
Yeah.
That's a non-Asian specific show, but to see themselves represented as one of the principal characters in the show, gives them license to feel like they belong, and there's nothing better, than to be able to carry that torch, to show that representation. And yeah, I think that's one of the greatest things that I experienced while doing Hamilton for God, 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to say I was one of those kids who was like, "Oh my God, it's the Asian George Washington."
Yeah, because as a younger actor, you look at that and you're just like, well, if he can do it, then I can do it.
Yeah, yes.
Because
And
that's
I,
how
I
I
think
felt I
I think I also saw an Asian Eliza the same day,
hmm hmm
Jen, and so I think it was just all of that. And I wasn't even acting at that point. I was still too like I was just hadn't figured that out. But I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. And that Hamilton
Yeah,
was the show that got me into theater. And so,
yeah,
to see the progression to now having so many shows to see myself in, hopefully more, because there
yeah,
still is room to grow.
yeah.
But you being a part of shows like Allegiance and Flower Drum Song and all these like milestone shows, I think it's just so inspirational to me and just everything that I could hope for to see for myself in my future and hope for. So thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Yeah. And lastly, what does representation mean to you?
Uh, Representation to me most feels like progress. Um, it's so necessary to open up that lens of what is possible, um, and to have representation is to push that needle forward.
Hmm.
And I keep going back to my appreciation for this season, but like I truly feel like the needle was pushed forward and nobody batted an eye.
Yeah.
Nobody thought it was weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the fact that we can all celebrate it and be cognizant of the fact that it was such a groundbreaking season for Asian American representation is everything.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. And do you have anything else to say before we wrap it up?
If you've seen maybe Happy Ending, please come back. And if you come back, bring your friends. Uh, and we'll see you at the show.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Marcus, for being on the podcast today.
Of
Have an
course.
incredible day. I hope everyone listening also will have an incredible day. Just thank you so much for all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Broadway Corner with Ashley Haw. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.